Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Latino and proud. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm glad to see that this guy, Kid Austin, Rolly Romero, and even Shakur Stevenson, right? That these guys are coming out, being open and embracing themselves, okay? Because obviously, these guys are in a unique situation, right? And I can tell you that from firsthand experience, how some people can try to make them feel like they're inadequate or they're wrong just for them recognizing the way they were born. Because they're 50% of one and half of the other. And what I'm talking about is with their cultures. Now, from what I understand and everything I've read and listening to these guys talk, Kid Austin's mother is Dominican. I believe his father is Black American, right? But nonetheless, he takes pride in both sides of his culture. But obviously, with his mom being Dominican, sounds like he is very close to his mother. And he wants to make sure he represents for his Dominican heritage. Rolly Romero has an American mother, Black woman. Father is Cuban. And Rolly Romero definitely represents for both sides. He even talks about some of the difficulties he faces being of two different cultures, being proud of both, but how sometimes people can make it difficult for him as well, because he almost feels like you have to choose a side because you really don't fit in anywhere. And then Shakur Stevenson is a guy who mother is Black American, father was Puerto Rican. Now, although he didn't know his father, he had met his father later in life, and he was aware his whole life that his dad was Puerto Rican. But Shakur Stevenson, later in life really embraced his Puerto Rican heritage, and he's been very vocal about it. And a lot of people have been supportive, but there are still those who take digs at him. Now, when I watch these three guys, I like what they're doing, because I'm going to be honest with you. I'd be doing the same thing. Now, I probably identify more with Rolly Romero, being that I was born here, right? But I left, I wasn't even 3 years old, maybe, 2, 3. And I left here with my other siblings and went back to Trinidad and Tobago. And I lived there for several years, right? So there's I'd say there's more of a connection when you actually have the opportunity as a young kid, basically a baby, to go back to whatever country your parent happens to be from, right? And spend that time and become acquainted with the culture, with your family. It gives you a sense of identity. Because I remember when I came back to the United States, and I remember going to school, and I remember the teachers would always want me to read, you know what I'm saying? They were like, hey, they would call me my name, but let's just say they call me Hood Champion. Hood Champion, will you read to the class? And I remember thinking, okay. And I would read, and the teacher would be there, like, oh my God, he sounds so cute and shit like that. And I remember, I was like, what's going on with these people, man, And then what I realized is it was when I was younger, I had a very strong Trini accent. So the teacher used to make me read because of the accent. And I was like, I didn't understand, but I get it now. But for me, I remember, like, when I look at it now, it's like, damn, I guess from that young of an age, being, when it comes to people, they don't look at you to see where you're born. They try to look at you and find the differences. And I truly believe that. Even here at age 48, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit now. But at age 48, you still get people who want to point out the differences in you when compared to them. So when you see a guy like Rolly, well, I kind of identify with him more because my understanding is he went to school in Cuba. Rolly speaks Spanish, right? So I think I would kind of be kind of like him, where it's like he lived over there, he went to school there. So culturally, he has both. He grew up with both, and I grew up with both, but we're Americans. Whereas Shakur Stevenson, he didn't really grow up with both, but he later in life decided to embrace his Puerto Rican culture and wants to know more. And to me, that's extremely important. And with Kid Austin, it sounds like he grew up with the Dominican culture as well as the American culture because he talks a lot about his mother. But this is the problem with that. It goes back to what I was saying, that people who want to point out the differences in you when they compare themselves to you. So it could be your complexion. Oh man, you got a different color. Skin's like reddish brown. Could be the texture of your hair. It could be the fact that you speak another language. It could be they come by your house, they smell that food cooking, and like, yo, what the fuck are y'all cooking over there? That shit smells good. So culturally, they want to look at things and say, wow, you're different. And sometimes that works for you and against you. And when it comes to these three guys, when I hear people saying, they're not proud to be black. Man, those guys ain't black anyway. You know what I'm saying? What are they doing? What are they doing? Oh, they're trying to be accepted over here by the Puerto Ricans or by the Cubans or by the Dominicans. They don't want to be over here with the black people. See, that's the most ignorant shit in the world. Because I'm going to speak for myself, right? Growing up, I never thought about none of that shit. That wasn't even a conversation in my house, man. You know what I'm saying? Period. I think I was I was like 13, 14. I think I was 13 or 14 where there was a conversation in the house about myself, right? And I'll tell you what happened. Well, let me just lead you into that. Because I don't know if Shakur, Rolly, and Kid Austin have gone through this. But I'm 48. They're much younger. But like I said, right now, at my age, I don't give a flying fuck. You know what I'm saying? If someone asks me, which happens even at 48, this shit happens all the time. It's the hair. You know what I'm saying? The hair, and they see my kids, they see me. People are curious. Hey man, what are you, man? What do you mix with? And it depends on the mood I'm in. I may be cool about it, and I may ignore them, or I may tell them, or I may say I'm half black, and just leave it as that. Leave them there looking stupid, or I may be, real rude about it. It just depends on how I'm feeling. And 70% of the time, I'm real rude about it. Because I don't have the patience for that stupid shit anymore, But it just depends on who asks. A lot of, like, we were at the fair yesterday, and we're walking around in the fair, and, I have 4 sons, and, they see my sons come through there, this long-ass curly hair and the complexion, and people are watching them, and then they see me, and they're like, okay, then they see my wife. And then they say, okay, yeah, man, we knew you guys were the parents of those 4 boys, man, your kids. And the thing is that they're looking at them, and it's kind of like what I was talking about, what these guys can go through. Instead of just looking and seeing, kids, they're looking at the hair and the complexion, and they're seeing something different than what they're accustomed to seeing. Because let me tell you something. In the Caribbean, that shit about hair texture and complexion, man, that you'll run into somebody, man, skin black like coal, hair dead straight, hair long, wavy, and curly. Or you got someone super light skin, fair skin with coarse hair, and then all in between. So I don't really think, my experience anyway, especially like coming from that I'm American, but I would just talk about the Trinidad culture because that's what I'm most familiar with, right? Nobody give a shit about all that. You know what I mean? Nobody, because it's normal. It's just the people and then the mixtures and shit. Nobody care about that. It's normal. Where maybe over here, especially if you're down south, that shit is not, to a lot of them, it's not common. Maybe a black and white mix is common, but seeing someone with a bit darker skin with what, like, you know, I would say a softer, greater hair or straighter hair, wavy hair that blows in the wind, it's not really common. You know what I'm saying? And people make a big deal about that shit because obviously it's something that matters to them. But the people like someone like me who has it, we don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? So when it comes back on these guys here, you know, and people wanting to point out those differences in you, I could only imagine I know what these three are getting, because there's been interviews where there were one guy was asking Shakur Stevenson, like, he said when Shakur Stevenson came up with the Puerto Rican flag, he said they were like, yo, what's up? Oh, he's turning his back on us. And Shakur Stevenson was handling the interview pretty good, but I was watching that and I was getting agitated because it just showed the mentality of the fucking idiot who was doing the interview. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm watching that thinking to myself, damn, Shakur Stevenson doesn't, you know, he's handling it pretty good, but he doesn't really know how to handle this bullshit. And then with Floyd Schofield, I saw somebody say something about, oh, now he's trying to act like he ain't black too. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with people? These guys should be proud of their cultures. They're of two. They should be proud of both. I don't see why a person would try to strong arm them to claiming one or the other. And especially when you're talking about Rolly. This man, Rolly, out here speaking fucking Spanish. Went to school in Cuba. His pop's Cuban. His pops was a boxer. He's very close to his dad. When he's supposed to come out here and say and denounce his father, you crazy? It's like me. Whenever I fill out anything and it asks about race, black, white, Hispanic, something, Asian, of two, biracial, whatever, I always circle that one because I'm of two. You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't I? The fuck out of here. I'm not going to say whatever, right? Because I don't tell anybody. All I say is I'm black and something else. Father from the Caribbean, but I never talk about it. But I'll never sit here and say, oh, I'm black. Because then what about my dad? Or say, oh, I'm this. Because what about the black side? It's like Andre Ward. He's half black, half white. And he, although he's not Latino, he's proud of being of two races. And it's funny because there was a guy talking to Andre Ward in the interview. That shit is out there. And he was like, yeah, because you know how they do us, man. You know how they do us. And Andre Ward was like, he applied the brakes. He's like, what do you mean us? He was like, you know how the white man does the brothers or some stupid shit. And Andre was like, nah, I really don't know, man. He's like, remember, man, I'm half white. So when you say that offends me, man. He's like, but I understand where you're going with it. I understand what you're trying to say, but you know, you got to understand. I can't really. I don't really. He was just saying like I won't speak the way you're speaking, but at the same time, he's faced discrimination. We've all faced bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So he could understand where the guy was coming from, but the guy just had like he developed dry mouth. The motherfucker was like. He didn't know what to say when Andre Ward did that to him. And, you know, I've had those moments too. That's why when I watch these three guys, I have a special interest in them. I'll always do videos about them. I may make jokes and shit, but not about this. Because when it comes to me, I don't care. But I watch my four sons now. And, you know, of course, we don't have these discussions in the house and nothing. My oldest gets it, you know. Where, you know, the thing about the hair, because the hair is a big fucking thing. And when he comes talking that shit to me, you know, hey, man, guys be tripping on my hair and girls be on me and shit. I'm like, well, you know, yeah, people like the little curly hair thing, you know what I'm saying? And that's all I say. I don't say nothing like you have good hair, this guy has bad hair. Hair is hair. You know, I don't believe in good hair, bad hair. You know, I don't even really have those discussions. You know, all I tell my son is, never question the way you're born. And the reason why I tell him that, because I remember being a young guy growing up, involved in a lot of sports, just out and about. I had 3 brothers. I had 4, so 4 of us total, all boys, and I happen to have 4 boys. Isn't that some shit? But I remember that thing, kind of like what my son's going through, where like guys were like, yo, you got that, he got that blow in the wind hair, you got that Michael Jackson hair. No, you can't come with us to talk to these girls. They're gonna want you because you got that good hair. You got white boy hair. You know, all of those things they would say. And I didn't really understand it, you know what I'm saying? But then as you become like, 12, 13, because we were chasing after girls like 10 or 11, like, motherfuckers were locked and loaded at a young age. I just could be eating all that saltfish and fucking, dumpling and shit. So, that island blood may have just had us hot. But I remember when it probably got about 13, 14, there was some shit that happened. This goes back to that thing I was telling you about, a conversation with my dad. There was this girl I was talking to, right? Let's just say this. I stopped talking to this girl. I started talking to this other girl. The other girl was half Filipino, half black. Nice, right? Little brown skin, long curly hair. Anyway, this other girl, her chicken head ass friends, got mad, had nothing to do with anything, because I didn't want to talk to her no more. I was messing with this other chick. Now the reason I stopped talking to the other girl, because she was just too fucking loud. And, I was young, so, when them girls start coming at you, man, I was trying to get all of them. And I was like that up until age 35. A goddamn fool. First name single, last name mingle. But anyway, I remember it was after school basketball practice. I think I was like 13. And I was walking to the bus. The bus used to take us home, right? And the girls were like, oh, you messing with that prissy bitch. And I was walking, and I was like, are they talking to me? They were like, yeah. You ain't black anyway, MFer. And I was like, oh, they're talking to me. And they were like, yeah. And I said, I'm not black anyway. They were like, yeah. I said, oh, okay. I said, so y'all mad because I'm talking to her? I said, okay. I said, but y'all think guys should talk to you all. And me and my buddy, we started laughing. And they got mad because we just basically ignored them, but we laughed at them. So anyway, I went home, and I remember on the bus, normally I have comebacks, right? When somebody says something to me. But I never had anybody say nothing like that to me. And I was like, you ain't black anyway, motherfucker. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And I got home, and I was telling my mom, I was like, yo, this shit happened at school. On the way back, I was like, but I didn't really understand what they were saying, because I never ever thought about me being anything other than just who I was. You know what I'm saying? I never, ever once, even in my friends, I never saw a black friend, white friend who was mixed, mother from Korea, from China, who from Thailand, Philippines, wherever, Japan, Indonesia, who Jamaican, who Trinity, who from Guyana. I never saw none of that shit. I never thought about it. But that day, after that day, I thought about it. I remember my mom, she got upset. She didn't like that somebody said that to me. And I was like, what you getting so upset for? She was just, I never thought that my kids would have to hear something like that. And I was like, okay. But I still didn't understand why she got so upset. But I talked to my dad, right? My dad's no joke, right? Straight up Trinidadian, West Indian motherfucker. I told my dad, like, yo, man, this shit happened in school today. He was like, what was it? Over a girl? I said, yeah, I'm messing with this one girl, half Filipino. I said, these other girls got mad and shit. He was like, and they told you you're not black anyway? I said, yes. And he was like, well, you're not. What you getting upset for? I was like, what? He's like, you're not black. You're of two. Your father is this, your mother is that. He was like, but here in this country, he was like, no matter what, they gonna see you as a black man. He was like, so that's for you to understand that. He was like, but you are of two. He said, but them, he was like, they're jealous because you don't want to talk to them. He's like, that's what young people at your age, they say a little hurtful thing, but you don't worry about that. You know how you deal with that? I was like, how? He said, you fuck all of their friends. And we started laughing. And that's pretty much how shit happened, you know what I'm saying? So when I watch these guys, the Schofield, the Rolly, the Shakir, and I hear them talking about, especially Rolly, talking about his struggles where even with some Cubans, he's kind of like, okay, well, you're American. But then with like the Americans, they're like, well, you're not really black, you're something else. And he kind of feels like it's hard to get acceptance from both sides. And I totally understand where Rolly's coming from. But again, I've been around the world, life is really fucking good. There's nothing that can go wrong that I can't handle when it comes to anything, finances, spiritual, anything. Okay, so life is good. My kids are great. But if they start to go through this little shit, you know, I know how to help them with it if they have any struggles. I didn't. I just realized, you know, these motherfuckers are haters, you know what I'm saying? But I got mine at age 13, where it made me see the world different. And I hated that because the next day when I went to school, I saw my boy was half Japanese and white. This one was Korean and white. This one was Korean and black. This one was German and black. This one was black. This one was Italian black. This one was Spanish. This one was Puerto Rican. These are the Mexican. These white boys used to smoke and ride skateboards. Those were my friends. I had a lot of friends from all backgrounds, but I never looked at any girl or guy and saw race. Never. Until I was, I think, 13, 14, when that shit happened to me. That's when I woke up and saw color in the world. And for these guys, it's kind of, you know, it just kind of saddens me to know that they are who they are, but people want to kind of put a little squeeze on them, you know what I'm saying? And force them to kind of denounce one side and recognize the other side instead of being cool with them, embracing who they are. That's the most important thing. I think they should be proud. I think that does so much for a young man or a young lady and their confidence in knowing who they are, where they come from, their family history. There's so many people out here doing these studies and shit, trying to know who their great-great-great-great-grandmother is, great-great-great-great-grandfather, what part of the world, you know, that when they do their lineage, their family come from, where did they, whoever came from Africa to the States, and, you know, just trying to figure things out, who come from Europe, and who come from this part, what continent, who come from where. Everyone trying to figure that out. That's beautiful. So you got these three guys who have somewhat of an understanding of who they are. Why would you sit there and bash them? I don't get that. But anyway, they're Latino and proud. They just happen to be of two. And I don't think that they should be ostracized, alienated, or be bashed for how they were born and being proud of that. And for Shakur Stevenson, you know, although it's later in life, he wanted to find out more. Why? What's the problem? Even if he comes out now and he starts trying to say a little bit of shit in Spanish when they're giving him an interview, people are going to clown him. I may even say something funny, like, oh, this motherfucker talking about it's good morning, and he's saying buenas noches. I'll probably make jokes about it. But that comes with the territory. But I would encourage him, you know, keep learning. You know what I'm saying? That's a beautiful thing to me. But I was fortunate to grow up with everything. Maybe that's why I just don't give a fuck about nothing, because, you know, I know who I am. And my dad, he squared us away. So we just don't give a fuck. With Rolly Romero, sounds like he's been squared away too. Because with Rolly, although he's a bit of a character, when he talks, Rolly speaks with a lot of intelligence, so you can tell he's been schooled properly. Floyd Schofield, I don't really know much about him, but I like the fact that he says, my mother would have loved to see her grandbaby embrace our ancestral culture. I know she's looking down proud. Shout out to my Dominican people. We have a strength that very few other tribes have. We will represent our bloodline to the fullest. Whether you agree with that or not, it doesn't matter. He's recognizing whether it's his grandmother, grandfather, great-grandparents, mother, dad, it doesn't matter, man. These guys should be proud. It's just like people who are fucking with Deontay Wilder. Oh, he's out here talking about he's from the whatever tribe out there in Nigeria and Africa. The man wants to go out here and do these genealogy testing studies to find out where maybe, you know, his ancestors came from. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like if somebody want to do a genealogy study and find out most of the people come from out there in fucking Ukraine or Poland or Switzerland, out in Germany. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't, people make shit harder than it really has to be. Like the whole thing about race and shit, maybe it's just me, you know, but I know that shit matters to a lot of people, but to me, I just don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Race, religion, economic status, political affiliation, man. I operate more on how you treat me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I fuck with. It's how you treat me, how you treat people. I got a great sense of humor, so I can laugh and joke about just about anything. Even some of the jokes they can make about these guys, because I've had jokes made about me, but I can dish that shit out. It's all good. It's like when somebody was on here talking about, damn, you got a perm, talking about my hair, right? And me and my wife laugh about it, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, these motherfuckers really are haters. But you think that's the first time I heard somebody say that? Especially when I cut my hair off and I get that shit brushed, waved up, and looking all nice, killing the females. You think that's the first time I heard somebody say something about my fucking hair? No, we just sit back and laugh at it. Laugh at it. Be like, yo, I'll be 49 this year. These motherfuckers still talking like that? We just laugh. We laugh at it. So for these guys, man, I wish these guys the best of luck. I hope they keep representing. I hope anyone out there who's interested and where the ancestors come from, go and find out. Because not everybody is fortunate enough to be like, my mom is Russian, or my grandfather came from Poland, or someone came from Trinidad, or someone came from Brazil, or someone came from Jamaica, or this person came from Panama, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. So many people are unfortunate. So many motherfuckers are adopted. And then when you look at them, you're like, they have these features where a lot of people ask them, where are you from? I met somebody like that. I ran into, matter of fact, I had a friend. The dude, man, I looked at him, I'm like, yo, my man. I said, yo, where you from, man? I thought he was from India or Trinidad or Ghana. My man didn't know. But he said his adopted parents told him he was adopted from India. But he didn't have any paperwork. So he's going off what they told him. But I'm looking at him. I'm like, yeah, you from somewhere out there, Bangladesh, Nepal, India. Shit, you could be from Fiji. But the bottom line is he didn't know who his birth parents was. He didn't know nothing. But he had this look, and he knew he looked like these people. And I felt bad for that guy because he used to ask me a lot of shit. And I was like, yo, my man, my family's not from India. I can tell you about Trinidad and Trinidad culture, but I can't help you. But he was just amazed with the little bit of shit he can get from me, And I just told him, like, you need to talk to your adopted parents. They're still alive. Have them give you the information. Your adopted paperwork, and, go on out there and start looking shit up and start to, create some awareness for yourself on where you may have come from and who you are. And maybe your adopted parents are still around. I don't know, but he wouldn't do it. And I had another friend she was half Korean, half white, but she was adopted. But she knew she was half Korean, half white. But some GI was over there in Korea with her mom. She got pregnant by him. Family told her she can't have a half white child. Some real ill shit. So she had to get a baby up for adoption, or the family would have disowned her and talked about killing the child. Crazy ass story. But anyway, she went up for adoption. They adopted her in the States. But we were stationed in Korea together and stationed in Japan together. She was underneath me. That was my little buddy right there. But man, she used to be getting emotional, and she'd be crying all the time, and just how she's in Korea and people want to talk to her in Korean and she doesn't know anything because she's American. Because she looked plenty, you could tell, but she looked more like, she looked Korean. But even though she was half white, but I used to tell her, like, yo, you can't, if you want to do something about it, right? Get the information from your adopted parents. You're right here in Korea. Go to Seoul and go up there and start to ask questions on the weekend. I said, you're here for a year. Within a year, you can figure out all this shit. But she was afraid to. But she used to be messed up, man. She just used to cry all the time, and I would listen to her. But I kind of understood her. I didn't walk in her shoes, but I understood her. And I was like, damn, I felt bad for her, but hey, I tell you what, if I have a question if I was in their shoes, I can only tell you what I think I would do, right? Because I've never been in their shoes. But if I was a guy who knew, let's say that I was adopted, but I have this certain look. When I go online in Trinidad and Tobago, boom, I see all these motherfuckers look like me. A lot of people look like me with this complexion and this curly hair and wavy hair and shit. I would want to figure things out, I wouldn't just sit back and not ask a question and try to figure it out and suffer in silence. I wouldn't do that. But that being said, love all, hate none is the way of the world, man. If people did that, we'd be all right. But for these three guys, man, Latino and proud, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see why people are fucking with them. I don't understand. But maybe that's because I kind of identify with these guys. So when you look at it from that perspective, I'm supposed to be like, what's the big deal? But nonetheless, I hope they keep representing. Rep your flags, your U.S. flag, your American flag. De La Hoya did it, Mexican-American. There's nothing wrong with that. And Mexicans still tell you De La Hoya is not Mexican. De La Hoya tell you he's not Mexican. But his motherfucking belly is Mexican. I'm from America. I'm American. I ain't from Trinidad. But my motherfucking belly is from Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? So it's just how you grow up, man, the culture. You can't fault someone for the culture they grew up with inside their fucking house. Outside their house is different, but inside their house is, although you in America, it's going to be Puerto Rico, it's going to be Dominican, it's going to be Trinidad. You could be living in fucking Japan. Outside your house, you're Japanese. Inside your house, if your parents are American, it's fucking America. I mean, it's just how it is. It's called fucking culture. People get from underneath the motherfucking rock and leave these guys alone. Y'all in the breeze.